Hello, welcome to The Conversation on News Central Television. This is the program where we bring you up-to-date information on all the political happenings on the continent of Africa. I'm Gbenga Aborowa.
And I am Rita Omodia. It's a Friday edition of The Conversation, and we have lots of stories in store for you today. Now, on The Conversation today, we will discuss the politicking in Nigeria as the main opposition presidential candidate has picked his running mate for the February 2023 election. We also understand that nationwide strike by state employees in Tunisia is taking place, and this is a very big blow for the president, Kais Saied, who earlier on had actually sacked parliament and so many things, especially when it comes to a lot of people as termed as a constitutional coup in Tunisia. And
people have said, you know, this might be his first test of power and authority because he's been bulldozing his way through policies since the July 25th parliamentary take over. But the UGTT, that's the biggest labor union in Tunisia, did hold a strike yesterday, shutting down economic activities. But we'll see how that pans out.
Definitely we will. And right now, let's begin in Nigeria.
Okay, we begin in Nigeria, where the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, has picked Delta State Governor Ifeanyi Okowa as his running mate for the 2023 elections. Okowa's nomination was announced and confirmed by Atiku himself at an unveiling event in Abuja, where he said his vice president must fulfill the qualities to be president and one that could complement him as a president.
Meanwhile, an atmosphere of uncertainty has permeated the ruling APC following the reported submission of Alhaji Kabri Ibrahim Masari as the dummy running mate of the party's flag bearer, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu. Masari, a former National Welfare Secretary of the APC during the era of the Comrade Adams Oshomole-led NWC, was nominated pending the conclusion of the consultation on the issue of running mates by various groups. Now, join us live for this conversation. We have Otubure, Godbless, Emmanuel, founder Ready to Lead Africa. We also have Segun. He's a public affairs analyst, and also join us via phone. We have Dr. Dayo Kayode, also a public affairs analyst. Gentlemen, welcome to the conversation.
Yeah, good afternoon, Rita. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you. So I'll start with you, God bless. Now, what were some of the factors that worked in Okowa's favor to becoming the vice presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party?
Governor Okowa's name has been in the public domain as a possible VP candidate to former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, who clinched the PDP's ticket at the primaries. And for me, it didn't come as a surprise because when you look at the governor himself, with his record in the state, you can see clearly that there is a great deal of work that a lot of people from the state have, reported to have been done under his administration. Of course, there are dissenting voices here and there, but I remember one time where I was invited to speak on the unity of Nigeria. He was the governor that was invited to speak on that day, and we literally spoke about the need to create that enabling environment for us to let go of our tribal, religious, and cultural differences so that Nigeria can prosper. So I do believe that these were some of the things that Atiku Abubakar would have been looking at. And of course, a lot of people in the north and in the south would have been taking cognizance of. And when you look at the fact that he's also played a lot of role in ensuring that some of the assignments that were given to him from his party, the PDP, he's handled with a lot of finesse. So I do think that those were some of the qualities that Atiku saw and decided to make him his vice presidential candidate for the 2023 general elections. But of course, he's a well-spoken, meek and quiet, man without much scandal out there in public or words to say, oh, look at how he's acting. So I do believe that a lot of things have actually fallen into place for his emergence as Atiku's vice presidential candidate right now.
Thank you, God bless. I'd like to bring in Segun. Segun, Okowa has been described in some quarters as a, featherweight politician by his opponents. How much value does he add to the PDP presidential ticket? And generally speaking, does the choice of a vice president play an important part in swaying electorates? Do you think the choice of a party's vice president would bring a lot of electoral value, or people are just concerned about the number one person on the ballot?
Yeah, so thanks for having me again. Let me start from the second part. Yes, absolutely. The choice of a running mate usually does have a significant impact on how the elections will go for the party that is making the choice. And this is largely because Nigeria, as we all know, is a very complex society, and there's a lot of balancing to be done in terms of ensuring that all the various sections of the country are carried along, in quotes. So you have to look at the religious tendencies, you have to look at the ethnic, then the regional tendencies. And sometimes the ethnic tendencies and the regional tendencies doesn't always necessarily align. And I think, so moving to the second part of your question is where the issue of Governor Ifeanyi Okowa now comes into play, So his name is Ifeanyi Okowa, which means he's an Igbo man. But there are a few complications to that, because the average Delta Igbo, as we like to call them here, will tell you that they're not Igbo, right? And a lot of people from the core Igbo, or let me say Igbo areas of the country would also agree with them that they are not really Igbo people, So that creates a bit of a complication, because to some, Okowa is from the South. He's not from the Southeast. And I have heard a lot of commentators talk about, the fact that that might affect the performance of the PDP in the Southeast, especially juxtaposed against the popularity and the momentum that is continuing to build behind the candidacy of Peter Obi, who is a core Southeasterner. Now, in terms of his electoral value, I would have said, I'm not sure there is much there, and I perhaps would agree to a certain degree with people who might refer to him as lightweight, because in terms of national influence, in terms of national visibility, Governor Okowa has not necessarily been the most visible. So a Governor Wike might have had a bit more clout in that regard, except that, of course, one, he also will say he's not an Igbo man, and he's more of a South-South person. He's been the governor of a South-South state as we speak. And of course, there's also the plenty of controversial issues that generally tend to surround him as a person. So Governor Okowa, electoral value, I'm not very sure. I'm not sure the PDP has gotten this very right, and we just have to wait to see how it works out for them.
All right, thank you so much, Segun. I don't know if we have Dr. Dayo Kayode with us, but if we do, I'm happy that Segun brought about the issue of region now, which has been a major issue for picking a vice presidential candidate, especially for major political parties in Nigeria, the APC and the PDP. Now, the South members have actually been urging the PDP to pick their candidate from the southern part of the country, but they've also been asked to actually go further to pick in from the southeast. So we wonder, does the emergence of Okowa put the southeast geopolitical zone at a sideline position, or does he serve as a bridge between the south-south and the southeast zones in the coming elections? Dr. Dayo.
Yes. You see, I don't know I don't know how much of the message that His Excellency Abubakar Atiku gave the day he was declaring His Excellency Okowa as his running mate. You're going to see that Atiku has been somebody who understands the political terrain of this country very well. You don't see him moving around, making noise about issues, but going around silently to understand the character that is embedded on issues that affect our national politics. Now, when the issue of is running, definitely it cannot be from the north. It got to be from the south. And when you are saying from the south comprises of both the southwest, southeast, and south-south. And all he was looking for is nothing other than competence. You should look through. You should read through that delivery to the people of the PDP while he was declaring Okowa. You're going to see that he mentioned it, that he is looking for someone who is also a presidential candidate. Because whoever is going to deputize for him should be able to take over at any point in time. And that he had seen in Okowa. Secondly, if you look at Okowa very well, he is somebody that had been in the legislature before and now second-term executive. Then when you also look at his antecedents, you're going to see that he is nothing other than a technocrat. Nothing other than a technocrat. When we have Atiku, a politician, as the president, there is nothing stopping us having Okowa, who is a technocrat, as the deputy. Now, you should also look at Atiku when he was the vice president to Baba Obasanjo. If you look at the array of militants there, you have nothing less than 75% of them as technocrats. Part of was Okowa, Ezekwesili, and so many others. So, what he was looking for is all about competence. Then when you're not talking about electoral value of His Excellency Ifeanyi Okowa, if somebody doesn't have electoral value, how come he was elected governor the very first time? How come he was elected governor for the second term? And at the same time, how come was he able to perform creditably well during the primaries? I mean, during the national convention of PDP. You see, before one can understand why Okowa was picked, one needs to look at some of his activities, not only as the governor of the state, you also need to look at his activities within the party. Look at when there was problem in the party. It was among the team that was going around.
But Dr. Dayo, will the Southeast be pleased with the candidate of Ifeanyi Okowa as the vice presidential candidate? Will the Southeast be pleased with it?
Now, if you are looking at Southeast, or you are looking at this and religion and all that, you should know that I am somebody that doesn't believe in all these people they are thinking. In as much as Okowa belongs to the South, whether South or Southeast, for me, it doesn't really matter. And again, if you want to even talk about the Southeast, you can see the affinity, the close affinity between Delta and the Southeasterners. So what's the difference? For me, I don't see no difference there. It's still the same geopolitical zone. I see them as the geopolitical zone, most especially because of the contiguity of those two areas to each other.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Kayode. I would like to bring in God Bless. Now, God Bless, we've seen this cat and mouse game play out between the APC and the PDP. You know, the APC waits for the PDP to make its decision, and then following, looking at what decision was made. We saw that with the presidential primaries, the PDP went first. And now we're seeing that the PDP has also come out first in naming the vice presidential, the running mate for its flag bearer, Atiku Abubakar, knowing that a lot of people, that the APC there's been speculations around flying a Muslim ticket, and seeing that Governor Okowa, to quite a lot of people, is seen as a political featherweight. Do you think the APC will damn the consequences and go ahead with the Muslim ticket? And does it really matter what religion the running mate practices?
Okay, so let me answer from the last question. So, in a diverse country and polarized country like ours, where you have our society driven by so much religious beliefs, my answer would be it does matter. It matters because we have seen in our public life experience, decisions have been made, people have been promoted, people have been demoted, people have been given access, sometimes because of the religion that they practice. So it does matter because the level of education and the sophistication and civilization that is needed to transcend this primordial and very unnecessary expression, we haven't attained it yet. So in the Nigeria of 2022...
But we did it in 1993, God bless. How did you get away with it then? MK
so
Abiola.
Let me tell you. Yeah, and I have my answer straight. Nigerians were trying to get rid of a military junta and a man called MKO Abiola, who had, affected the lives of both Christians and Muslims, was the guy on the ticket. Honestly, people were not really bothered about who his deputy was. And then the nature of the country, the social coefficient of the country at that time was not necessarily dispolarized. People were not being promoted, or regions were not getting treated based off on the religion that they were practicing. So when you look at the environment and the circumstances of 1993, you cannot compare with the environment and the circumstance of 2022. Let me say this. Let me answer the second question. It's Okowa a featherweight. I would not call Okowa a featherweight because when you look at the trajectory of this man, he's literally risen through the ranks. And let me say this. Will the Southeast not feel left out? The core Southeast? My answer will be yes, they will feel left out because when you say the southeastern states, you will call Anambra, Imo, you call Abia, you call Enugu, then you call Ebonyi, and the rest of them. But this is the argument that I can pose. If a man's name is Ifeanyi, I don't know how more Igbo that person has to be. Dr. Ifeanyi Okowa is the governor of Delta State. I don't think has ever denied his Igbo-ness in any form. When you even look at some of the people that work closely with him, even though he has people from the different parts of the state that have served in his administration, you figure out that you still have quite a lot of people with Igbo names around him. So he may not have come from the southeastern states as we have it, but there's this thing we say that if you see Asaba, you don't see Onitsha. If you see, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
No. Just continue, please.
Okay, great. So when you look at that, what that tells you is, I believe, because of the kind of person that Dr. Ifeanyi Okowa is, my governor from Delta State, I believe he would be a bridge, not just between the South and the Southeast, but I believe it will be a bridge for young people across Nigeria and Nigeria, because we've spoken at the same event before, expressing detailed practical approach on how to build bridges and bring societies and communities together. So I do understand, and I've shared that sentiment many times on TV, on radio, in writing, that I do believe that the southeastern part of Nigeria must be given the opportunity to produce the president of this country and lead this country. But if this is where we are at the moment, and we have the PDP that have now picked a South governor with a Southeastern heritage, I do believe that the Southeast will be well represented in the next administration if the PDP wins. I know my governor would say when the PDP wins. So the idea, therefore, is that it may not have been what the core Southeast wants, but I believe that there is a connection of heritage. And I know that Okowa, who is not far from the Niger, would definitely bring the brothers and sisters from across the Niger to be part of a larger strategy of a one Nigeria that can work.
Thank you so much, Godbless. I mean, it's in politics there where 1 + 1 somehow can still become one. Politics is a very funny game there. Okay, while we move away from the camp of the PDP, let's look at APC now, because the deadline for the submission of the vice presidential candidate is June 17. And we're hearing reports now, Segun, that suggest that the All Progressives Congress presidential flag bearer, Bola Tinubu, has dropped the name of Kabi Ibrahim Masari as a placeholder ahead of the INEC deadline. I wonder, how true is this?
I think we can, to a very large extent, say that is confirmed. So for me, if you are not on the inside and getting the news firsthand, then you want to make sure you are getting it from mainstream media. And I think that news is circulating quite much at the moment. So we have to take it as being true. And in any case, before today, I think as early as day before yesterday or thereabouts, this news had circulated that most likely Asiwaju Bola Tinubu was going to submit the name of someone as a placeholder, to allow him to buy himself some more time to field his running mate. And for him, it's a much more complicated scenario that he needs to manage. Unlike for the PDP, where the presidential candidate is a Muslim northerner or a northern Muslim. So the option is very simple for them. They need to pick someone from the south and someone who is a Christian. Like I said earlier, of course, and like my other panelists have said, you've got to balance the regional and the religious and the ethnic tendencies, right? So for the PDP, it was an easy job. Maybe, with the exception of having to find the right person from the Southeast, given the peculiarities of this particular election. But for the APC, their presidential candidate is a Southern Muslim. Now, you know that generally speaking, the South is generally seen as predominantly Christian, and the North is generally seen as predominantly Muslim. So finding a Northern Christian that has this same electoral value that we've been talking about for a while now is looking as if it's going to be challenging for the APC and for Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, so which is probably why they felt they needed to put someone there to beat the deadline and then continue the consultations to ensure that they come up with a name that will be acceptable to everybody. Okay. Remember that they are already flying the kite of a Muslim ticket, given the fact that the major names that they consider to have the required clout in the North, that will be able to influence enough votes in the North, bearing in mind that the PDP candidate is a very, very powerful politician from the North. The APC's options are very limited.
Okay, Segun, so looking at these options, Segun, while we're still having reports of a placeholder, we also have names like the Borno State Governor, that is Senator Kashim Shettima, and of course the Plateau State Governor, Simon Lalong. What are the chances of these other two people becoming, would I say, a permanent vice presidential candidate for Bola Ahmed Tinubu?
I mean, even Governor Zulum of Borno State is also a part of that equation. And again, you just have to, you have to look at the peculiarity of the challenge that the APC is facing. APC is contending with Atiku, who is a northerner, and who one can argue, especially in the Northeast, has significant influence. But being a northerner generally, you can assume that he will command quite a lot of votes from the North. And we all know that, the results of the 2019 elections, he didn't do that badly. The defeat to the APC was a 2.9 or 2.8 million vote gap, right? So Atiku has pedigree in the North. Can the APC afford to field a Simon Lalong, for example? Simon Lalong is a Christian. He's from the North Central. And the majority of the North, these are the peculiarities of our political reality. The peculiarity, the North, typically the core North, we say there's a core North, and then there's the middle belt. The core North consists of the Northeast and the Northwest. Kaduna, Kano, Katsina, the KKK. as we like to say, when the results are being rolled out, those three states always changes the game. What influence does a Simon Lalong, for example, have in those three places? What influence does Simon Lalong have in Adamawa State, in Borno State, in Yobe State, in Sokoto, in Zamfara? So a Simon Lalong, I suspect, will probably not make it to that ticket. I think that what you will end up seeing is that the APC is going to take the bull by the horn. They're going to risk it, and that's why they're already flying this kite, and they're going to produce a Muslim from the North as running mate for Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Thank you, Segun. I'd like to bring in Dr. Dayo Kayode as we wrap up this conversation. We've seen a third force, the Labour Party. There's been a lot of groundswell on social media, and so many people, especially young Nigerians, are excited about the candidacy of Peter Obi, the standard flag bearer of the Labour Party. A few days ago, the party said its choice of vice president will be from the northern part of the country. Is there any particular person that they can bring to balance the equation with a lot of electoral value that could give the APC and the PDP a run for their money?
Yeah, I think, first of all, in the lifetime, probably that is one of the reasons he traveled to Egypt to see how to also come up with a running mate that will have electoral value. But having said that, you see, when it comes to the issue of Labour Party, interestingly, the presidential candidate is from the Southeast, and then a Christian. And with the kind of followership is indicating especially on the social media, I don't think it should be a difficult thing for him to get a running mate from the North. Now, looking at somebody that will now join in to give PDP and APC a run for their money, like his DG was talking on the social media the other time, Dr. Dayo. He said that they are out to go to raise about about $1 billion to pursue this presidential election. So for me, if that is true, and the Labour Party, as Dr. Otubure has said, is able to raise that fund, then whoever becomes the running mate to Peter Obi wouldn't really matter. Because one of the things that parties always consider in bringing up a running mate also includes the person that can also drop a lot of money on the table to run the election. Because we know election in Nigeria is very expensive. So if Peter Obi can get somebody from the north who is also a Muslim, and then the Labour Party is able to raise money, as Dr. Dayo said, I think, yes, Peter Obi will be good to go. And I will always wish him the very best.
Okay. Thank you very much, gentlemen. It's been an absolute pleasure having you join us on this half of the conversation. Otubure, Godbless, Emmanuel, founder, Ready to Lead Africa, Segun Sopitan, and Dr. Dayo, Kayode. Thank you very much for your insights and your contribution to the program.
Thank you.
You're watching The Conversation on News Central Television. We'll go on a quick break, and when we come back, we'll be turning our attention to Tunisia, where there was a general strike yesterday by the country's biggest trade union, forcing civil servants to down their tools in protest against a rising prices of commodity and fuel. We'll look into that in detail when we come back. Do stay with us.